Fine, guys. So today class we're going to continue with our building API. The next step is create login for our user, right? Yesterday we add the registration so user can register and then generate the JSON token, right? Also, which we saw in our the client side, right? Basically Postman. So let's open the Postman as well. What is Postman here? So step one, we're gonna finish the login part and then paste that, and then we're gonna go back to the next API creation called book, right, or library. So okay. So this is a controller, right? Basically what gonna happen is go to the app now. Okay, in the app we have what we have the user route, right? We have user route already, API user route. So this is an object, right? This can contain many routes like create users or login users, everything, right? So in your user router file, say this object dot something, right? Your the router, this is object, right? Object dot post or basically router dot post, router dot whatever, right? Whatever route we're gonna call, the server will direct based on this route, right? The link, like a user login. See, so up to user, right? This is the main route up to here, which is we saw in our the localhost 5000 API / users, right, up to here. And then we separate each function with a different route, register or login, right? So now we're gonna have the login controller or function. This is a callback function, right? That is what we have to write. Okay, so if the request is for login, you will be sent to this controller. So let's look at that login controller. So you go to the user controller and then start writing, right? Login controller here, a login user, basically, and all the stuff will be inside this function, right? So this will be async function because we have to deal with a database. Okay, now I will just copy these things, will be normal, right? What we have already done yesterday. See, request, response, and next, which has the type, right? Request type, response type, and next function. So we have all that imported, right, in our code on the top here. See, next function, request, response from the express. These are the types for that properties, okay, or the parameter, right? So that is good enough. Now, how you gonna fetch data, right, from your, how we fetch data, okay, from our database? Not database, but basically the, like from our Postman, right? You're gonna send data, correct? When you're gonna log in, so we have login here, no, right? Let's say you want to log in here, okay? Login, right? Post user / login. In the body, right, you will be sending the password. This is what we create yesterday, right? So you don't need name, just username and password, correct? So you will be sending like this. So when you send this data, right, this is a request data, okay? So inside here, const, basically you have email and password, right? Which will be structured from request dot body. Same thing what we have done when you're creating, even when you're creating something, you're gonna send data from the, just imagine HTML form, you fill out the form, submit, data will be go, that is the request body, okay? The data is inside the body of the request, this parameter, okay? And that is an object, right? So this is an object, you can destructure that. Remember, right side is the value, right? Object value stored in a variable, const email password. And because even the property name is email and password also, right? It will be, like just imagine object dot email, object dot password, right? then it will get the whatever the this variable gonna have this value, this variable gonna have this value. So yeah, so that is, we have to understand what is the next step, right? The next step is basically do the validation, right? So if there is no email or no password, then just return. Don't proceed from there. I just return with some kind of error message, right? So this is the one. If no email, no password, somehow if there is no email and no password, but somebody is trying to log in, right? Then we don't proceed from there. We just stop by returning this function, right? So create HTTP error, which we have already on the top imported, right? Look at this from HTTP error, this function. That function will take two parameters. One is the, we call it like status. So status is 500, error while getting user, right? Oh, no, not there. Where is that? Here, 400 status. So, there is a status between 200 to, I think, below 400, right? Somewhere like that. There is one stage, like 201 is like when you're creating the new data, 201. 400 when you missing some field, right? Or 401, So, and 500 is some kind of, I believe, network error or something like that. So the range in the number range, right? It has some special meaning. So you just put the 400 and fields are required, right? And return from there, okay? So let's say we have all the fields, okay? We have all the fields, right? So what we're going to do now, if we have email and password, next step is to check, right? If that email is present inside the database, okay? So because that is a callback, not callback, but asynchronous function, right? You can add in try catch block, like you can put in try catch, right? Like that, right? Same process, okay? What we have done before, right? So I will not put just, something you guys can try, okay? See if you can do it right yourself. Same like what we did earlier, okay? In the top one, right? Same thing. So I'll just put here to do, wrap in try catch block, right? And then use. So the normally what gonna happen is you want to fetch or check the email, right? If present in database or not, okay? So for that, const user, we have done this study also. Await and user model, you're gonna need model, right? Dot find one, find one, right? Function which will receive one parameter, something you pass, right? Like find one with what you want to find with ID or email, right? So the email is unique, ID is unique, so you can provide one of them, right? So here we don't have ID, we just have an email, right? This one, so we just pass that. So we passing object, okay? Because property name and value is same, right? Like email is something like this. When the property and value is same, email property inside the database, and value will be this email, right? This value here. Then in that situation, we just put one name, email one, right? And it will be okay. So if there is no email, then also that is not correct, right? If there is no user, no user, then we don't need to do anything, just return. So just return with the error message, right? So return next. So you have to, you have just calling the next middleware function, right? And after you pass this create error message, so that it will display the whatever message we are sending from here. Okay. Next is nothing but a function, next step, right? Return, but it will just run the next function. Okay, after that, what we're going to do is, let's say there is an email, okay? If no email, then it will not, no user, right? If there is no user, that is null, then not null will be basically true, right? If true, then only this will gonna happen. But if there is a user, then this will be false, okay? That means we have to go next next step now. That means we have the user. So what we have to do now? We have to basically compare the password now, right? Password. Okay, so let's do that. Const is match. This is just variable name. We just create a simple variable, right? Each match or compare password, something like that. And then we call the big crypt, which is on the top, imported already, right? And compare. And you pass the password, right? Which you just get. And then compare with the user dot password. Remember one thing. See, this user, right? When email is matched, then you're gonna get that object stored in this variable. Okay, so this is from the database. Here, what we are doing is we have the someone is trying to log in. So the email, the password we have received, that password, comma, and then from the database user object dot password. So password from the database, which is user, right here. They will compare if that match, even though this is encrypted password, right? This bcrypt compare function knows how to check that. Okay, it will check, and once it matches, then you will receive like true or false boolean value here, right? You're gonna get boolean. Okay, so next, let's say if password did not match. So if no password is matched, right? If that is the, if we get true here now, if password did not match, that is false. So no false will be true, and we basically return this error message again. Okay, and return, get out of there, right? No need to go further. Fine, done. Now finally, even we have correct password, then we're gonna move to the next step. So we're gonna create basically now, here also you can use a try block, right? But let's leave it for now. You guys can try. I'll just put this comment, or there is already, right? So create the token. Okay, next step is creating the token. You can put in a try catch, and then this part will be on the try block and the other one will be in the error, right? So we have this exactly on the top one, creating user, right? Same thing. So const, let's generate the token, because we have everything now. We need token, right? So we're gonna get what we have here, JWT, or JWT, right? So let's get from there. I mean, you can directly destructure this here also, right? You can do that. This one you can destructure, right, directly from JSON web token, and because this is object. Okay, so if you put in a curly bracket and just call this sign function, right, that is fine. Or the next thing is we have to just call the JWT dot, and then you're gonna get this function inside. Okay, so the first thing is, the first parameter will be object. We call it solve. That is the ID of the user, right? User dot underscore ID. We have this user. Remember, we fetch user from the find one here. So we have this user to use. Good. That is the first thing. Next thing is config, right? I think what we have added. Let's see. We have config or something. I think config file here. Okay. From here we're gonna get the JWT token or secret, right? We need that one also. So config file dot JWT secret property. So this is a string add string. Let's add it because it will complain if not. Fine. So what else we need now? We're gonna get that, and then after comma and add few more things, right? So okay, so let's put a comma here and then pass object, right? So expire in maybe let's make it 7-day, and algorithm. What kind of algorithm, right? We're gonna use. So HS256, this one. Yeah, that is all right to generate the token. Okay. Now we're just gonna return that token. So if the login is correct, we should get the token, right, as a output, right? So I mean later, for authentication, we will set that token to the, when you log in, that token need to be go to the like browser's cookies, right? Set there. Okay. But right now we don't need to do that. Just call it access. Just give a name, right? And pass the token. TOKEN token. Okay. So here, we are just sending the object back to the client. Okay. Response.json file. And in the JSON, we're passing that token, right? So now, right, remember, okay, so already I have a return. This login user, I'm returning here, right? Look at that. And in my router, you're going to import again from the same place we are importing, right? And now create this new path. So this will be localhost 5000 API /user/login, right? When someone requests, these things going to happen. So let's see. We need to run that. So that is cd to backend. What is the name, right? REST API. Okay, that is all. 2-REST API. Okay, so just run the npm run development, right? So once we have the connection with our database, server is running on port 5000, connected to database successfully, and now we can test. So this is the password, I think, from yesterday. I hope that is correct, right? So let's send the request. And look at that. We received that JSON token, right? So login is success. Basically, our whole functionality passed the test and we got this token back. Okay. So that is all we're going to do in our user, right? So let me close all this. Now we're going to start with our next part. Database DB connection, no need that. env maybe we're going to use, I don't know yet. So let's see how far we can go. So book API, right? So first step is create inside the source folder, add the folder called book right here. Now we need book types, right? Database type. Okay, basically create types for the book. What are the type of data we're gonna need, right? So let's add that. Okay, so here simply export, right? Like a export interface and call it book, right? This is just the object for types. Okay, so we're gonna have ID that will be string, and then title of the book. Even when you creating a type, it gives us the idea, right? What are the data we will be dealing with when creating a book. Okay, so I will just tell you what are the fields we're gonna have, right? Description, so that will be string. Author also, right? Who is the writer or who is the user, right? So in this case, author, see one of the person, right, or user who is logged in. So their information is already coming from the user, right? So let's import that user type. Okay, from the user type, and just call that one here, right? You can do that. And genre, Let's add genre also, GENRE, something like that is correct. That will be string. Yeah, I think if something have to delete, I'll delete later. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, still don't know what I'm gonna do, right? Cover image will be string, and then we're gonna have PDF file, right? So that will be, let's make it string, and then created ad. So that will be, like these are the already timestamp generated from the MongoDB schema, right? So that will be date and updated, right? Updated at will be date also. CREATED at updated at. Okay, so that is all we need for our book. So we have title, description, author, which is the user types. Genre is a string, cover image. So these two field, we're gonna store in Cloudinary. Okay, we'll see. So next is, okay, we got this now, right? We're gonna create the model. Okay, so let's add here book model, right? Model.ts. So this model represents the field, right? Or the heading of the table. Okay, just imagine like in the database or in the Excel sheet, right? You have heading of your table, correct? Something like a ID, name, school, whatever, right? That heading. So that heading is represented by basically schema, right? Our schema. Okay, so what are the field you need? Field, we call it field, and then you're gonna add data for each field, right? In each row, so that is the SQL, but here our data is a document. Okay, inside the collection, right? Collection is a table and our data is a document. So we have a book. What is collection we have? Let me check. Bookstore, inside the bookstore, right? Yeah, that will be the. So inside we collection will be, right, from the schema. So for user it will be users, and for the book it will be books, right? Table. Okay, this is kind of, just imagine this is a database or storage box. Inside we have users. Now we are creating books, right? So when you create user, that data will go to the user collection, and when you are creating book, it will go to the inside the book collection, right? So that is what we define in the model. Okay, so first thing first, right? So let's import Mongoose. We're gonna need, then import book, right? Book type. Okay, data type, book type. Okay, now let's start our variable const book schema, right? Just call it like user schema. Similarly, we can call it book schema, right? Equal to new schema, new, coming from mongoose dot schema, right? schema, and inside you're gonna pass the object, right? Like this. So we have the type now books. So just declare here your type book, right? Like that. Okay. And also, right? Yeah, that is all, and then we're gonna put all the fields now. So the first one is title, title, title. The type will be what? Type will be string. So capital string, and the required, right? Required, required, required will be true. So string string, this is an object now, cannot be like that. Okay, so similarly you're gonna have for all the field, right? Just copy paste a couple of times, or I will just like description, then you're gonna have author, cover image, file, genre, right? And then timestamp like that. Okay. So that's how it's gonna work. I'll just quickly explain. What I'm gonna do is delete this and add the remaining here. So let's go from the top, right? The field is description, type is string required, author is same thing, right? Author. So which is, the author here type, right? Remember that MongoDB also provide the type. Okay, so that this will be the object ID, right? Which is coming from the one of the schema. Okay, so mongoose.schema types an object ID, and that ID will be referring to what? The user. Okay, so this ID, I mean, you have to write this type. This is from the mongoose, right? Mongoose also provide type for the type checking. Okay, you just have to refer which table or which collection, right? That is user. So user has ID, that is what author will be, right? But here I'm thinking, right? Author. So okay, so we're gonna get that ID from, like when, how are we gonna get ID, right? Let's see. I'm thinking, I mean, this is how we create a, like you create to the, or you refer to your other table, right? This is the formula or whatever the rules, But the thing is, in the real writing code, right? The way we're gonna get ID is from the token, like JSON. When somebody is logged in, from the token, we're gonna get that ID. So, and that will work, right? We'll store, okay, so now finally here, cover image, we will store cover image and PDF file in the Cloudinary. Okay, so that is here. I mean, I'll just delete, no need. You can check in the details, right? So these two will be storing in the Cloudinary, but we need in our schema, right? Cover image, file, both are string required true, genre, just type string required, right? And then finally outside of the object, right? So here is the object, first object, and then second object will be the timestamp, which is created at and updated at. This will just generate created at and updated at automatically. In Postgres, we have to write created at and then the date, right? Define the type date. But here, MongoDB, just put this one line of code and it will do that created and updated field automatic. So yeah, so that is all our schema, right? Just to adding this to, we have to do a lot of configuration, but it's not a lot. I mean, yes, you have to create an account in the Cloudinary, then, connect to the Cloudinary API, right? Because Cloudinary, you cannot just go directly and save the file. Okay, we have to configure the API's username, password in our this project, right? So that and also use their npm package to establish the connection. So they have everything, right? We just need to set up. Okay, like you got the car in pieces. Now it's your job to set up together, right? So that's what's gonna happen, and we will do that. Okay, so done. So now is what? Now we're gonna. Okay, so next is creating the model, right? We have to do that. Still pending. Export default default, right? And then mongoose dot model, right? And then the type will be book here, and then you pass, or you call it book collection, right? Or basically, yeah, collection, not collection. What is that? There is first is collection, that will be table. Yeah, so that will be collection. Yes, that the table will be book, right? And then inside you're gonna add the document. Okay, so when you have book, remember this is singular, right? And it will create the name inside the database called books with S. Okay, and now you have to call your schema, book schema here. next property, book schema. And that is all, that is all for your MongoDB schema, right? So next will be router, right? So we can call it book router.ts. See, same pattern, what we have done here. So always, as long as the different fields you have, like users, book, maybe something e-commerce, right? Maybe products, something like that. So every different fields, you're going to create folder and then just add all that, right? So here in this one, we're going to do the complete CRUD, okay? Create, read, update, delete, operation, right? Book router. So let's look at the router. You just import. Yeah, so let's import that, right? Import Express first. Express from Express, okay? What happened? Something is not. Book router.ts, save that. Import Express, right? From Express, okay, like that. And then const, we call it book router, right? Like that. Book router equal to express dot router. See, and now we can easily add all the route to this book router, right? So your route will be something like a let's say book router dot post, and here you're gonna get, let's say this one, right? So you're creating a book, okay? Book, right? And then we're gonna have the controller, and the controller will be create book. So this is callback function, correct? So we don't have yet. And then finally you're gonna export this. So the same thing, like for all that, right? You're gonna have post for creating new book. Get, right, for getting all book, okay? So get all book like this. Get all book, right? And then you're gonna have again get maybe single book. Get, right? Single book, correct? Or you can call it get single book, like that. That is just a function name. Then you can have maybe put and delete, put for update, right? So here will be, let's call it update book, and maybe you're gonna have a method called delete, and call it function name delete book. So these are the different routes we're gonna create, right? Or methods, okay? So for now, I will just let's stick to the post one thing. Let's work on one by one. So this complaining, because we don't have function, right? So for that you're gonna need book controller.ps, and then inside here you're gonna call that, right? So const, let's see, what was that? Create book, the same function name, create book, and that will be async, and like that. Request, response, and next. And now you export, right? Just export, because there will be many function, okay? Many, like for all the one I show you just now here, right? 4 or 5 different functions. Create book, get all book, get single book, update and delete. So they all will be here. That's why we just export by name, okay? This is called name export, right? And when you have name export, how you gonna fetch that? Simply import, and then it will pick up automatically. Let's call create book, right? Like that. If not, you have to write it See, I just call the name and it picked up, right? And it put in the curly bracket, automatic. If it's not, you have to just manually do that. Okay. If I have, like, for example, let's say I have export default something, right? Something maybe add, okay, like that. So there is no add yet, right? So I have to create a function, or maybe let add equal to 20. This fine, anything you can export, okay? I can have only one default export. So if I have to import this now, right? Here, import add, and see, it did automatically without curly bracket. So only one default. That's why it will be in this way. So clean that up. So it's complaining, right? You need to have the types for all that. So import a request, response, next function, and then you're gonna assign the type here for a request. You're gonna assign here response, and then you're gonna assign here the next function. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, if you look at now, right, look at what gonna happen is, okay, let's see if this is working or not. Let's test, right? So here I'm just gonna for now rest.send something, okay? Send maybe one object, right? Which is this is what book, right? So I will call it book equal to this is new book, right? For now, okay? So this is a post method, and I need to go to the app and check if I have. So I have not imported yet, right? Remember, I need to get user router. Similarly, I have to get the book router, right? So import book router. Why it did not grab, import book router from book/book router, right? So I hope, so it's not getting, so something is not correct, right? So let's check now. Go to the book router and figure out. So see, I have the book router here, but I have not exported yet, right? So that will be export default book route. Okay. So now the errors will be gone. Yeah. So we have to use now, right? So how are you going to use that? Again, same thing. We call our app use middleware. This is a middleware function which will run when there is any request something, right? This middleware function run first. So we can call it, let's call this slash books, right? Like that. So localhost 5000 slash books, and then the book router. I mean, you can do the API slash book also. We can do that one also if you want, like API slash books. You can keep it like that. So, the I think, let me see. Yeah, so let's add it like that. That is fine. So let's test now, right? Because in our function, we have something already, correct? We added the, if I request to this post method, right? It should give me this object at least as a return, right? So let's check. Go to the postman and just add here new. The method is post router.post right here. So localhost 5000 API books. This is a post method. Okay, look at here, and I'm requesting localhost 5000/API/books, right, and post. Okay, so see what happened now. See that function run, I get that object back. That means, just imagine if there in that function, if there is a data sent by the, this is a post, so you're gonna send the data from here, right? Or in this case, body, you're gonna have this form because you have file, image, something like that. So that will be the extra form data that you have to add in this format. And you're gonna send that data, and that data should be display, at least that should be sent to the database, right? That is the point. So it's working. I mean, it's working already, right? We get the first thing. So the next step now, right, is sending the data. Okay, so, I mean, basically sending the file, right? Because what I said, we're going to use Cloudinary to send image and the file to the Cloudinary. So we cannot just send directly, right? There is something called, okay, let's stop here, right? I think I said only 30 minutes, but it's long. Let's start next week. Okay, I don't want you guys to spend too much time in this today. Okay, so just complete the remaining part from yesterday and then build up to here, right? Understand it, and then we're going to move to the next part, is basically installing the package called Multer, right, to handle our database, files and all that. Okay, and also we're going to use Node.js path functionality, right, to find the path inside our local server to store, like when you're going to select the file, right, it will basically store locally first. It will copy to the local directory, and then from there, like all information will be collected, and then our post will send to the server, right? So these are the steps. Basically we're going to work on the next day. Okay, so Monday, right? Let's do that. Maybe it will take 2 more class. All right, guys. So let me stop here. Thank you very much.